I am Jimbo Paris, and you are listening to The Jimbo Paris Show. All right, how's it going, everyone? I'm Jimbo Paris. Welcome back to the show. Today we have a very special guest, Richard Flint. He's the owner and CEO of Flint. He's an expert in human behavior, and essentially he's focused on helping individuals and business owners. And he consults, mentors them, and teaches them his knowledge and insight. And additionally, he's also a keynote speaker. So again, he's done a lot here. How are you doing, Flint?
I am doing very, 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 very well. And you?
Very good. And I like your style.
Which is what? What do you see my style as?
I like the way you dress, and I like the ambiance you give off. You know, when I look at you, do you come from a Pacific Islander or Native American culture? Just curious.
No, it's an interesting story, Jimbo. I used to wear suits all the time, and I was in a shop one day in Las Vegas, and I saw this shirt that I really fell in love with, just bright colors, and I like color. So I bought the shirt, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to just be daring. So the next day I wore it on stage, and everybody was just complimenting me on the shirt. So I thought, you know what? Everybody needs a trademark. So shirts have become my trademark. And as I travel, especially internationally, uh, people give me material for shirts. So I have a shirt maker here in the Palm Beaches who makes my shirts for me. And all of them are one of a kind, which fits into my thought. Why spend your energy being a carbon copy when you're the original? And be comfortable in your own skin. Most people are not comfortable in their own skin.
That's quite interesting. A lot of revered people actually did the same thing you did. I think Nelson Mandela, he used to wear very expensive shirts too, and he sort of did that style as well. All right, I respect that. I respect that quite a bit. So, when it comes to you as a person, though, tell me a bit more about yourself because I see the style here and the overall introduction, but what's going on underneath all that style?
Well, I am a man who is beyond just committed. I live my life committed with conviction. And what I mean by that, Jimbo, is that um, I know my purpose on this earth. I started teaching at the university level and then left the university level because of some circumstances with them wanting me to donate a percentage of my salary back to the university. So I gave them the whole salary and left because another one of my thoughts, never stay anywhere where your presence isn't appreciated. Because if there's not appreciation, there's not respect. If there's not respect, then there's not value. And I ended up on the staff of a very, very large mega church in the Palm Beaches here in Florida and was with them for 4 years. And then the church went through its own internal struggle. Churches are never immune from their own struggles. And a gentleman in the church, when he knew I was resigning from the church staff, came to me and wanted to know if I'd be interested in running a counseling center in the Palm Beaches. And I did that for several years, and I wrote some magazine articles. And it got some special attention, and I started getting groups that would ask me if I would share my research and my understandings with them. And I did that on a limited basis for a year and a half, and then decided this was a once in a lifetime opportunity. And so that was 35 years ago. And for the past 35 years, I have traveled this globe, sharing my insights and my research with people. And you know, when I started doing this, I made a commitment to myself, and I made a commitment to God that every day that I have a chance to step into a human life, and if you could see my house here in South Florida, you'd find that in 3 places there's a sticky note, and on that sticky note says the same thing: somebody is going to need me today. And so I want to make sure um, that I am always prepared. So every day I ask that I have the privilege to bring three things to people's lives to help them become better, because I found over the years that most people are stuck in three things. They're stuck in their doubt, they're stuck in their worry, they're stuck with their uncertainty. And my gift, if I have one, is to take what looks confusing to people and show them the pathway to clarity. I also want people to be smarter. And I'm not talking about book knowledge. I'm talking about using their yesterday in the way it ought to be used. Yesterday contains two file cabinets. One file cabinet of all the things that we assume have gone wrong in our life. And if we're living with doubt, worry, and uncertainty, we go to that file cabinet. And that's where we get our excuses, our blame, our justification, our procrastination. Or we have another file cabinet that's filled with what we see as our successes. And if I go to that file cabinet, then I go there with my belief, my trust, and my faith. And whatever today is in your life is dependent on which file cabinet you go to. If I go to the file cabinet of blame, then what do? I live from yesterday to today with excuses. If I live from today to tomorrow, I go there with the belief, the faith, and the trust that there's more for my life. And then the third thing I want for people is I want them to be stronger internally. I learned a long time ago, Jimbo, that in life, there are only two foundations that a person can have. They can choose to live from the outside in, where they give control of their life to everybody else, or they can live from the inside out, where they have control of their life and they plan their journey. And I want people to understand what it means to live from the inside out, not the outside in. And that's my commitment with conviction.
So, what does doubt, worry, and uncertainty have to do with the inside out?
Well, doubt, worry, and uncertainty really are when we live from the outside in. And, one of the things about our society today is that people are being pulled outside because there's so much around today. You don't know who to trust, who to believe, what to believe. And so, what do? I live my life with doubt. And when I live my life with doubt, you can't doubt life without worrying about life. And when doubt and worry come together, they create uncertainty. I get asked all the time. I was asked on a show yesterday, what do you think is the one word that controls people today? Uncertainty. And uncertainty, when it partners with doubt and worry, paralyzes you and I. It paralyzes us mentally. So what do? We live from our emotions up. When I'm living from the inside out, then that life is committed to believing in me. It's committed in trusting. It's committed to faith. And for a long time, Jimbo, for a long time, I didn't understand this, and I lived from the outside in because my childhood was all about doubt, worry, and uncertainty. And I had to come to the place where I understood that. And understanding that, I was able to break free of the control that my yesterday had over me. Most people are controlled by their yesterday. They don't understand that yesterday is a reference library, not a room to live in. If I live in there, I go to that negative file cabinet. If I use it as a reference library, I go to that file cabinet of success. And everything that you and I are today is based on what we have done with yesterday. And I would imagine in your life that you've gone through struggles where you've had to battle with what people wanted you to do rather than really focusing on what you wanted to do with your life. That's a struggle. It's a common struggle.
So, how did you overcome your yesterdays and make the most out of your life to become the man you are today?
Well, let me share with you a little bit about my background. I was born in New Orleans. And if you ask me about my natural father, I can't tell you anything, Jimbo. If you could see my birth certificate where it says father, there's no name. My natural mother was a prostitute in New Orleans. And I was the result of a one night stand she had with a guy, and she didn't want me. So when I was basically 2 weeks old, I was given into a family where I found out years later the only reason I was adopted was because my dad wanted a son. My mother did not want me. They had three girls. None of them were their real children, all adopted. And from the age of 6 is where my memory goes back to. I was living in a home where my mother would let me every day know that she didn't want me in her house. I mean, my mother would always make one of three statements to me. I'm the stupidest kid she'll ever meet. And we know parents don't lie. So if your mother tells you you're stupid, you must be stupid. My mother told me that I would never amount to anything in life. And then the one that would rip my heart out is my mother would look at me and said, I am sorry we ever adopted you. I don't want you in my house, and my greatest day will be when you are no longer in my house. And my mother would prove with behavior those statements. I mean, what do you think it'd be like to grow up and you never got a birthday cake, never celebrated your birthday? You would come down on Christmas morning and you'd watch your sisters open Christmas presents, but under the tree there was nothing with your name on it. My mother was making a statement with every part of her behavior. When I was 12, we moved from New Orleans to Oklahoma, and when I was 16, my mother informed me that if I was to live in her house, I had to pay room and board because that was her way of increasing her control. I found a job at a IGA grocery store, and every day after school, I would go to that grocery store and I'd work till 9 o'clock, and I'd call my dad and he'd come get me. I'd been 16 for 2 weeks. I called my dad. He came, he pulled up in front of the grocery store. And I started to walk over to the car just like I always did. And my dad stepped out of the car, leaned across the top of the car, and said, Richard, wait a minute. I didn't know what was happening. When you're 16 going on 12, life doesn't make a lot of sense. And when my dad stepped behind the car, I saw what was in his hand, and it was a suitcase. And Jimbo, my dad walked over, set the suitcase down beside me, and informed me that my mother had decided I could no longer live in her house. My dad hugged me. He whispered in my ear, don't ever forget, I love you very much. And then he didn't walk back to the car. He almost ran back to the car, opened the door. Before he got in the car, leaned across the top of the car and pointed his finger at me and said, you take care of yourself. And the next memory I have is a gentleman grabbed me by the back of the neck and screaming at me to get out of the street because I was standing in the street watching my dad drive off. And inside of me, Jimbo, my heart was just pounding. And I was screaming inside me, if you love me, why are you doing this? I realized what was going on. I walked back over. I looked at that suitcase and told myself, you can't spend the rest of your life standing on a street corner. So I picked up the suitcase and I walked downtown Ardmore, Oklahoma, went to the Hotel Ardmore, told them I needed a room. They looked at me funny, but I had cash. And Jimbo, I walked upstairs, opened the door, never turned the lights on, walked across the room, opened the window, and crawled out on that ledge. And there I had a heartfelt conversation with myself. Do I live or do I die? And Jimbo, all of us have turning points in our life, things that make us choose the path we're going to walk. And on that ledge, I decided if I jumped, my mother would win. And I wasn't about to give that woman that victory in my life. Next morning, I called a guy whose kids were my two friends and told Troy what had happened. He said, you wait there. I'll be there as quick as I can. 30 minutes later, he was in my room. About 2 hours later, he finally asked me, what are you going to do? And I told him, I'm not going back. I'm not going back to that house. So he helped me find a lady who owned the Daily Ardmore, right, the newspaper in town. And I paid her $5 to live in her house. And every day I'd go to school, I'd go to football or tennis practice, I'd go to the IGA store, I'd work till 9 o'clock, and I would go home and I'd sit at her dining room table doing my homework until I couldn't keep my eyes open. Because I knew, Jimbo, that when I went into that little bedroom and turned that light out and crawled in bed, I was going to cry myself to sleep. See, I think the number one thing that a human life wants to know is that you matter. And when you don't feel that you matter, that's where you feel lost. And lost is a terrible, terrible thing to struggle with. Sophomore in college, I decided I had to confront my mom and dad because another one of my philosophies is anything you don't confront, you validate. Most people struggle continually with things they don't confront in their life that are capable of holding them hostage. It was 62 miles from my dormitory room to my mom and dad's front door. I got to their house. I slowed down, but I didn't stop. And a few miles down the road, I pulled over and told myself, if you don't do this now, you'll never do it. Got back to their house. I opened the car door and I ran to the front door because I knew if I walked, I would run back to the car because I was terrified, Jimbo, because I didn't know what was going to happen. Screen door, wooden door, both closed. And I knocked on the screen door, and my dad was the person who came to the door. And when my dad opened the door and saw me, Jimbo, he didn't open the screen door. He stepped through the screen door and with one hug told me everything that he had been struggling with. He literally carried me into the house and just talking all the time, didn't understand anything he was saying. And finally, he realized my mother wasn't there. So he called for my mother, who was in the kitchen fixing breakfast. And when she walked into the door frame between the kitchen and the living room, she just stopped. She looked at me. If looks could have killed, I would have been dead. She took her left hand, reached over to the table where it always was, picked up her purse, took out her car keys, walked out the back door, got in her car, and drove off. And I never saw her again. And let me tell you something about that. People say, man, what a childhood. When she walked out that back door, she freed me because what I had been doing was living to prove her wrong, that I wasn't stupid. I could make something of my life, that I was a person who could bring value. And that was the second big turning point in my life. And people ask me, would you like to redo your childhood? No, because I wouldn't be whom I am today. If your audience really got to know me, they would find that I am probably the most self-confident person they'll ever meet in their life. Jimbo, I throw parties and I'm the only one I invite. I mean, I am very comfortable in my own skin. And that's another thing that I find that people struggle with. They're not comfortable in their own skin. So if you're not comfortable in your own skin, what do? You give your life to others to control. And that's living outside in because it's no longer your life. It belongs to someone else. But when you're living inside out, it's your life. I design my life every day. I know what I want for my life. I know the future I want. And so what I do with my life, whether I'm on stage, whether I'm on a podcast, whether I'm doing one of my small group retreats, whether I'm coaching somebody or a Friday open mic, all I want people to do is to have the process in their life and understand how to be better, how to be smarter, how to be stronger in their life so that they can move toward living inside out. And one more thing real quick. People ask me, what percentage of people do you think ever use what you teach? 2%. 2%. The most challenging thing that people will ever do is to step outside their circle of sameness because they're taught to live there. They're not taught to be free and be the unique person that God put them on this earth to be. And that's how I've gotten to where I am in my life today. Have I overcome some things? Absolutely. Have I struggled with some things? Absolutely. But have I been willing to face my life, learn from those right filing cabinets, and every day continue to step forward, driven by the fact that somebody is going to need me today. And that pushes me every single day of my life. And that's Richard Flint.
Now, that's an interesting story. And one big thing I noticed too is that you kept on clinging on to specific people, and there were people out there that also were a part of your journey too. And while I think the most of it was self-belief, um, do you think an influential person could have played a role in cultivating that belief that you had in yourself that continued to move forward?
Oh, Jimbo, yes. I mean, God put 5 men in my life at strategic times uh, to help me to not go over in the corner and sit down and become a victim, which so many people become because they don't allow the right people in their life. Troy Howe, the gentleman that came when I called him that morning, uh, and then there was J.C. Luke, who owned the grocery store, who was more of a father to me, and then Spencer Hayes, who was the president of the Southwestern Bible Company, who told me you've got to stop fighting with yourself and you've got to let yourself become yourself. And then Clyde Irving, who was my sales manager. I spent 3 summers selling Bibles door to door, where I gained most of my confidence. Uh, you want to have a fright, knock on the doors of people that you don't know and they don't know you. But it distilled in within me that I can make a difference. If I believe, trust, and have faith in me and what I'm doing, I can make a difference. And I believe that there are people every day that are there to help you. If you're at a point where you're willing to recognize them, face yourself, and open yourself to really wanting that life where you can live it forward. You can live from today to tomorrow. Absolutely. But you got to be ready to let those people in. And if I'm living with doubt, worry, and uncertainty, most of the time I won't let those people in. I take on basically 10 people a year, and I'm their private coach or a mentor for 1 year. And for every one person I accept, I turn away probably 10 because they're not ready for me. I interview everybody that I work with. And if you're not ready for me, I won't open the door of my life to your life because I know that I'll hurt you more than I'll help you. But if you're ready to be honest and to face yourself and to find that pathway forward, there's no one you'll ever find in your life who has a greater ability to help you in your total life because I work with all 4 rooms of your life: business, family, social, and personal. Because, and Jimbo, we got to stop trying to teach people that you got to balance your life. There is no such thing as a balanced life, but you can find harmony for your life. So, one of the first things I do is to teach people stop trying to have balance. Let's find the correct way that these 4 rooms connect. Let's build harmony and partnership between these rooms. So many marriages go through divorce because of the fact that they can't find harmony of how to grow and partner together. Um,
So how did you find harmony in your life?
the harmony came when I realized, first of all, that I was not in control of my life. So every day I fought with myself. I had a fight between my emotions and my mind. And you and I either live from our mind down or our emotions up. And I had to make a choice. What do I really want for my life? And harmony comes when you can answer 4 questions in your life. What do you really want? And the operative word is really. Most people know what they want. They don't know what they really want. And without the word really, most of it becomes a fantasy. So what do I really want? Why do I really want that? That's where my commitment with conviction comes from. And then the 2 outside questions. What price am I willing to pay to get there? I had to pay a price. And I would imagine through your life, Jimbo, you have been in situations where you've had to consider the price tag. And the price tag is not financial, it's mental and emotional, because that leads to the fourth questions. What behaviors will I have to improve in order to have the life that I really want? Most lives break down at the price tag because most people are fearful, and they're fearful of the unknown, which is the number one fear that most people wrestle with in their life. That's why they resist change. It's why they won't face themselves with honesty, because the unknown is a huge cavern with no light in it.
And how did you personally go above and beyond and conquer that unknown?
Well, it was really the realization, Jimbo, that from the day I was born, the day you were born, to the day we die, we fight 6 fears: fear of the unknown, fear of abandonment, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, and fear of success. And one of those 6 is your biggest fear. If I can find your biggest fear and we learn to control it, the other 5 go away. If you never get past your number 1 fear, the other 5 own you. And I realized that my biggest fear was tied to 2, the fear of the unknown and the fear of rejection. And I had to face those head on. And as I grew in my understanding of me, and I learned how to believe, trust, and have faith in me, I began to see the unknown not as a monster, but as adventure. And as I learned to trust myself, I was willing to step into the unknown and see it as adventure, which meant I had to take some risk. But I couldn't take those risks if I didn't have the belief and the faith that this was the right direction for my life. Most people are challenged because they live from their emotions up, not their mind down. And when your emotions overcome you, you're trapped. You're trapped. But you can settle emotions with the right mindset.
So that's what you do. You help give people this correct mindset to overcome these obstacles.
Yeah.
So
Well,
go on.
yeah, that's my life. Because most of the people that come to me, they come seeking, but most of them don't understand what they're seeking. So what I have to do is we have to put into their life 3 D's that they begin to live by. Desire. And desire is that hunger that you can never fully fill, but it's always there. And that's what challenges you. The determination that I can because I will. I know there's something more for my life and I want that. And then the big glue word, discipline, that if I'm not disciplined, I'm scattered. So the discipline is where I take my desire and my determination and I put those together in a package that every day challenges me. And it makes me face myself with honesty. I learned when I was in the counseling center, most people want honesty as long as it's not honest. And I ask people all the time, do you want everyone in your life to be totally honest with you? And they go, no. Why? Because honesty demands accountability. And that's a word that's being erased out of our society today. No one seems to be accountable for their behavior. And there's always an excuse, a reason, a justification. And without accountability, there is no improvement. So what I help people to do is to find that table of desire, to build that foundation of determination, and to have the discipline, the consistent persistency to continue to move forward in their life. And I'll tell you something, Jimbo, I'm good at it because you can't throw anything at me that I haven't helped somebody work through in their life.
Now, this idea of accountability you described is really a big issue. A lot of people really just need to take responsibility of their life. How do you think, how do you teach people to take accountability?
Well, one of the first things we have to do is teach them the purpose of yesterday. That every behavior that we have in our life, everything that we do because we give ourselves permission to do it. You don't do anything in your life. You don't make a decision in your life without giving yourself permission to do it. So what I have to do is, where are you coming from? Is your permission coming from all those old tapes that keep you focusing on that file cabinet of self-destruction? Or are you in a place in your life where you're willing to take that deep breath, slow down, and face your life with that desire, that determination, and that discipline in the forefront of your life, where you're looking at yesterday as that reference library, not a room to live in. And you're taking from yesterday in your decision making process the things that really shore up your belief, your trust, and your faith. You know, you and I are multiple personalities. And when I work with people, I notice the person, but I work with the personality. And it's your personality and that makes the decisions that you make. Are you willing to trust yourself? Are you going to live doubting yourself? Are you going to believe in yourself? Or are you going to worry about everything in your life? Are you going to have the faith that says, I can because I will? Or are you going to let uncertainty say, I'm not sure? And you make a choice every day of your life, your behavior. Probably the most important of my 19 books that I've written is entitled Behavior Never Lies. That the essence of truth is not what you say, it's what you do. Jimbo, I will listen to everything that you say, but I'll study your behavior. You ever had people in your life who tell you one thing, but their behavior is a contradiction to what they've said? You know, and you don't trust those people. I don't trust them because they're living in a world of excuses, of denial, of justification. So we got to get the person to a place where they're willing to be honest. And that's where my interview comes in. If I see that you're just looking for someone to give you a foo foo view of life, I don't want to be in your life because you will wear me down. But if you want to grow and improve and have the life you were put on this earth, then I'm here to help you because I can take a human life that is part of and wanting that 2%, and I can take them to what it is that they're searching for in their life. And that's what makes me happy. That's what fulfills me. That's what gives me my peace, my joy. It's what every day renews my spirit and causes me to hang on to that. Somebody's going to need me today. And I know they're there. And my pace is so that I can walk with them and help them to find the life that they can have.
You remind me a lot of this guy that I interviewed way, way back during COVID. He was the blind blogger, and he was talking about the same thing that you were saying too. And I think you both are so similar in the sense that you push this idea of authenticity and how um, there's so few people these days that are just authentic. And it's somewhat understandable because I think a lot of people, they want to fit in, they want to be a part of the crowd, they want to be liked, so they're afraid of kind of going outside of that norm. But the most ironic part is the person that they're hurting the most isn't other people when they're not being authentic, but it's themselves. So a lot of big points there. So I think the next question I have now is, you seem like a very passionate person, but was there ever a time you were dissatisfied with your work?
Yes, when I felt like that I could bring value, but that value wasn't appreciated. And when you don't feel appreciated, it's one of the signs that you're in the wrong place in your life. When Jimbo, when you and I are in the right place in our life, we get three internal things. We get happiness. And happiness is a sense of fulfillment, which is the second thing we get. And every day of my life, I get up and I'm happy that I've got another day of life. I'm fulfilled with my day because I know that I am going to have an effect on people. And then the third thing is freedom. I am free to be me. I like me. I can tell you, I love me. I'm comfortable in my own skin. And this is why I let very few people in my life. Um, if you want to grow, if you want to improve, you've got to be willing to remove some people from your life because most people who hang in your life are there to control you, not to help you find freedom. Have you ever had to eliminate someone out of your life because you outgrew them?
Yes, but again, it's never an easy thing. It's tough.
And that's the key. That's the key right there. Is that creates the battle because you can't fix another person's life. You might care for them, you might love them, you might see what they can become, and you pour yourself into them, and they don't respond. They react because so many times when you're trying to help somebody, uh, they see you as a critic. Um, They see you as somebody who thinks they're better than you. One of the other things that I have to figure out in a life that I work with is, what are you trying to prove with your life? So many people, the mission of their life is to prove something out of their yesterday that still holds them hostage. And why do you feel you need to prove that? I mean, for me, it was to prove to my mother she was wrong. And when I realized when she walked out that back door that nothing would ever be satisfied with her, I was free. No longer did I work to prove myself, because even though I wasn't living there, I was still giving her control of my life by that desire to prove to her that she was wrong about me. And when I left that house that day and got my car, I was free. I was free then to work on myself from the inside out rather than letting her pull me outside and control me. Because most of us struggle because one of the things we do, we're always trying to prove something, which says we're not comfortable in our own skin. We don't have the belief, the trust, and the faith in ourselves.
Hmm. And again, this is all very important. So when it comes to sort of proving things and so forth, what happens after? What happens after we've overcome proving? How do we begin to strategize and kind of prioritize the right goals in our life?
Well, one of the things you find is that when you no longer have to prove yourself, you take away whatever it is you're trying to prove. So, and when you take that away, you actually have to remove some people in your life who keep pushing that at you. So when I understood that, and I was willing, because it was not easy to eliminate some people, because I had to eliminate some friends. Uh, but my conversation with them was very simple. I want to apologize to you because I've allowed you to bring behaviors to my life that really are not right for me. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to let you do that anymore. So we have a choice. Either you choose to walk forward with me, or I have to walk away from you. And the majority of them, 99%, I had to walk away from. And you miss them, but you also understand once you step away what they were doing to you. So, it's that being free to be yourself, and to get in touch with whom you are. And that takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of desire, determination, and discipline. But with everyone that you remove, there will be someone else who will come across your path. They may only stay for a season, or they may stay forever, who are there to support you, not control you. You know, my very, very best friend I have in my life, I met on a golf course in Sarasota, Florida. We got paired together. Didn't know him, he didn't know me. And for 5 days, we played golf together. And Johnny is just a person of so much wisdom. So we would talk. And every day as he talked, he gave me another little piece of wisdom to use in my life. The people that I work with, I don't tell them what to do, because if I do, I have to adopt them. And I don't want that. But what I can do is take the situations they have, and we can grow to understand, why are you allowing this to control you? What's the process that you can use to free yourself? And how do you get to the place where you can stand on that foundation that you really said and believe it? I can, because I will. And that will is because I believe, I trust, and I have faith in myself. Like I said, I have very few people in my life, because I don't let people in my life who want to use me, or who are seeking information to use against me. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. And I don't care how strong we are, we're going to mess up sometimes. But it's the realization, and go back to the word we were talking about, it's the realization to hold yourself accountable. You know, I think there are three words that we're trying to erase from society today: integrity, accountability, and responsibility. When you Take those three words out of a life, there's no boundaries. There's no boundaries. And that scares me because that's what I see happening today is that we are slowly erasing integrity, accountability, and responsibility.
So you're a CEO. So can you tell me a bit about the businesses and what you offer?
Well, Richard Flint Seminars is it's a conglomerate of several things. It's my in-person speaking. It's my every Friday. Every Friday I do an open mic. It's every Friday at 10 a.m. And it's an open mic where we have a dialogue, and then we open the mics to the people that are there, and we have a question for the week, and then we talk about it, and then we do a series of small group retreats. Our next one's coming up October 3 through 5 in West Palm Beach, Florida, and our theme is stop chasing your tail, learning how to pace your pace, learning how to have the pace in your life, the patience in your life, and the persistency in your life to have the strength to live the life you really should live. We have our morning minute, which is a 60-second video I send to you every morning with one of my philosophies of life and a piece of wisdom. We have our success house, which is for business leaders and how to become a real leader in your business, not someone who has a title but doesn't understand what leadership is. It's an 8-module program for 16 weeks that has transformed the meaning of leadership. And if people go to my website, richardflint.com, there's a list there of everything we do. And, I am excited about the opportunity that you have afforded me this morning to be able to share many of my thoughts and my philosophies, because I do this every day in so many different ways. And I'm always being challenged. I'm always learning the next thing that I want to do. We got a special event coming up in August where people who do presentations but really need to become more proficient, that we're doing a 2-day program on becoming the presenter you're capable of becoming. And we do a lot of different things just to help people know how to live their life from today to tomorrow and let go of yesterday to today. It's a chance for me to give to others because of the journey that I've made. And that's the commitment of my life, Jimbo.
And I really respect that commitment that you have, and I really think the privilege here is mine as well, because you're a very influential person, Mr. Flint, and I really wanted to get you on this show because of your story. Now, I love this interview, but just to wrap this up, is there any advice that you would like to share or give to anyone right now?
2 philosophies that are the strongest that I've ever written. Number 1, every day, live your life that's a positive presence that has presence when you're not present. Become unforgettable. And you do that through the quality of your presence. So every day, work to have that positive presence that has a presence when you're not present. And then number 2, don't ever forget behavior never lies. That the essence of truth in your life is not what you say, it's what you do. And without knowing it, people watch us every day. And I've come to realize that. So every day I have to walk creating that positive presence where I can create a presence that's present when I'm not present.
And how can people reach out to you?
Well, there's two ways. First, go to my website, richardflint.com, and look at that. And Jimbo, I'll make this commitment to your listeners. If I've touched on something today that really hit a niche in you, and maybe you would like to talk a little more about it, send me an email, richard@richardflint.com, and I would respond to it. No one reads my emails except me. Everything I share is private between myself and the person. But reach out to me, richard@richardflint.com. And people say, my goodness, how can you do that with the thousands of people's lives you touch? Because I know most people won't do it.
Hmm.
They're trapped in their circle of sameness. They talk about wanting out, but they're too fearful. Because one of those 6 fears we talked about hold them as a hostage in their own life. And I'd be happy to offer that to your audience.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Flint, for this privilege. I really just want to thank you. Check out Richard Flint's email, send him an email. Check out his website, look at his content, really a great guy. So, yeah, thank you all for watching this show. I'm Jimbo. This is the Jimbo Parish Show. I'll see you all next time. I'm currently working on a passion project that I'm really excited about, but I need your help to bring it to life. We'll be launching soon our very own Jimbo Paris Academy. This is going to be about aspiring creators and creating concepts. Thank you for your support. I'm sharing free bonus content to supporters. So let's make some amazing content together. Our affiliate partner, LifeWork Systems, focused on helping create a better collegial environment, looking at the mental health of business workers, business employees, and overall bringing the business up. Thank you for listening to the Jimbo Parish Show.